everybody, and welcome to another episode of TVT Fantasy Roundup. Today we're going to be going over some of the biggest winners and losers from the 2023 offseason so far. So let's kick this thing off. We're going to get started with the Detroit Lions as one of the big winners so far. They really had some holes on the defensive side, but shored that up with the addition of safety Gardner Johnson, as well as cornerbacks Sutton and Mosley. They replaced as well departing Jamal Williams with David Montgomery, who was coming over from the Bears, as well as retaining some of their other D. They are probably hoping that they're going to have good success this year, especially with them being one of the top offensive teams last year. Defense can hold some teams in check. They should be able to win a lot more games. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers, who had maybe about as busy an offseason as anyone in the league. For those who somehow missed it, not only does the team have a brand new coach in Frank Reich, but they also traded up in the draft to draft Bryce Young at number 1. Cost of that ended up being a first round, 2 seconds, as well as wide receiver DJ Moore. So even though they did lose a weapon there, they were able to pick up Adam Thielen as well as Hayden Hurst as well. So hopefully those outlets will be, positive addition for the team. And it'll be interesting to see how a new coach can try and turn things around over there. Another team I have on my list of winners is actually the trading partners that benefited from moving out of that first pick, the Chicago Bears. Not only did they get DJ Moore as a legit offensive weapon for Fields to use and kind of open up the field there for him not only to pass but also run more, as people have to respect his weapons and assets they had up on the team, but they also shored up the line as well to give Fields more protection, which at the end of the day they're hoping can obviously keep him healthy longer, keep him in those games, keep them winning. Next up on my list we have the Jets, who made an interesting offensive turnaround this offseason. Not only did they trade for Aaron Rodgers, but essentially went up and picked up most of his offensive weapons from Green Bay as well. Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman joined him over there too. And they also added Clark from the Ravens as well. But ultimately it'll be interesting because they didn't really improve the O-line much, and with Rodgers' issues last season, it'll be interesting to see if they can actually improve that offensive game more than just, a few extra points each game. Rounding out my top 5 winners for this offseason so far is going to have to be the Eagles. They didn't necessarily improve too much on the free agency side, but they did make sure to secure a lot of this talent that has been winning them games, getting them to these Super Bowls. So Kelsey signed again, Cox is signed again. Obviously, you got your QB locked up with Jalen Hurts. And really, they're also on this list too because of their draft as well. Went after a lot of Georgia players, keeping that, Georgia to Philly pipeline that they've established open and running. Adding Jalen Carter, obviously, big guy, should be able to help them. So we'll be curious to see how an already talented team gets even better possibly on the field. On the other side of the spectrum are so-called losers of the offseason so far. Gonna kick it off with the San Diego Chargers, who really outside of that Herbert extension haven't done anything this offseason to improve, get themselves the necessary upgrades to compete further than they were last season. They did go ahead and draft a talented wide receiver in Johnston, but with their depth at receiver already, that wasn't really something that they needed to be focusing on at this time. So curious to see how they can put that together on the field. And following the Chargers, I have the Chiefs on my list, really because kind of like San Diego, they didn't do much to improve, but got them ranked lower as well because they also lost some important weapons on the offensive side with both Juju and Hardman going to other teams. So will be interesting to see what Mahomes can do, but you can't really ever count that guy out, especially with his speed and ability to run. Definitely makes defenses have to keep on their toes, so to speak. Our two teams rounding out my list of losers for the offseason gonna have to be the Arizona Cardinals. Not really sure what their management team is doing over there, but their moves are all over the place and seems like they're keeping their money saved, if not to invest it, just to make sure that they keep lining the owners' pockets. And final one on my list, unfortunately, is my Rams. Haven't done anything at all to improve. Didn't have a great season last year, so really just looks like the team is going to be content with just sitting back, getting some of those draft picks back, and reloading for a few seasons from now. Anyways, I'll do it for this episode of TVT Fantasy Roundup. Thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great one.